Alright, we should have audio now.
Ooh. Alright.
Welcome back. And sorry about that.
Sorry about that. As we were saying, we talked about the temperature in the water being a puzzle, not just a tool to limit loot, which I like that. I didn't notice it, you did. And then we started talking about the coins and carrying capacities, and we were getting into the interesting things about the treasure.
Yeah.
Rather than the role play things first, the mechanical ones. Yeah. We talked about the amulet-proof risk detection, not being seen, was the hardest thing to find. Ironic. Well, not ironically, fittingly. Talked about the interesting thing that Caleb said he didn't want it. And also, hey, great. Thanks for dropping by. So yeah, that Caleb didn't want it, and that Chester, I don't think she heard him say that, but she specifically, that was the one thing she specifically wanted to find was Caleb's stuff.
Yeah, the third call out was finally for him, and it was from her.
Yep.
And the coinage weight, because I do want to mention it and make sure what the sound. Just the coins, 555 and a quarter pounds.
Another thing that was interesting, someone else had to bring up the flask before it was searched for.
Yes.
And Beth ends up giving it away.
Yes.
Nobody really sought out their own stuff.
Well, Bo said it.
Bo
right away. She's like, we gave away shit. Like what I gave, I don't care about.
But then she's the only one that asked to find her stuff. She has Beth to look for
Well, she remembered, I gave him my drugs. That's what she's like.
She's look for my, the ones that we gave away shit, it doesn't matter. It's the only one that said, hey, look for my stuff.
It's true.
Yeah, so...
So the other interesting thing that I wanted to touch on in that sequence is when Caduceus casts Detect Magic.
Yeah.
Matt says you detect 4 things.
Mm-hmm.
Ignoring that he should have detected 7, at least.
Yeah. Well...
But after I thought
you can caveat that with the 60-foot range. There are 4 things within the range of Detect Magic.
Oh, there's a better explanation than that.
Okay.
Detect Magic is blocked by an inch of metal.
Oh, that too.
And 555 and a quarter pounds of
metal.
Coins.
Well, block that. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, there could very well be more magical items down there.
I don't think there is. I think those are the items that Matt wanted them to find.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that he put in there.
Because of course, they also got their magical items.
Yeah. My favorite moment of that whole thing was Ashley acknowledging that she was MVP in the last episode. She was the MVP of the fight.
Yeah.
That was my favorite moment. Because I was like, yes, you are. But having looted everything, they make their escape. Caleb leading the way.
Yes, with the Campaign 2 Lucky Feet.
And it's...
Okay, I love Keen Mind. It's one of my favorite feats because of the style of character that I usually play. But I agree with Matt. It doesn't give you...
It does not specify the Ranger ability or the Outlander ability.
Right.
This is true. Where the Ranger cannot become lost, and the Outlander always can retrace their steps.
Right.
But Keen Mind does say you know where north is at all times.
Right. But it doesn't say you remember how to,
Yeah, but I mean, Matt split the difference and gave him advantage, which I think was the correct call.
That's what I would have done. Yeah, but yeah, it's up in the air. I think they're leaning on it. I wouldn't say they're abusing it, but I would say they're leaning on it a little too heavily.
I don't know about if I would classify it as too heavily, but they definitely lean on it. But it's a feat that if you're going to take, you're going to lean on it.
True.
But he fails a check and goes down a wrong tunnel, and they have a random encounter.
Yep.
With a fire serpent.
Yes.
I think is what it's called. Essentially a CR1, maybe. I think is what it is.
Yes.
One maybe two creature. And Caleb polymorphs into a shark. And there's a moment at the table where it's like, can sharks swim backwards? No, they can't.
Nope. And I love it when he's like, I'm just going to stay still until I can bite it. Travis is like, that is exactly what you are not bioengineered to. That is what you are physically incapable of doing as a shark.
Yeah.
Because the way they're built, they have to keep swimming to breathe.
Not entirely accurate. There are reef sharks in the Gulf of Mexico that they have found sleeping.
Did not know that. I do believe hunter sharks, which is what he turned into.
Yeah.
Most sharks do have to keep swimming.
Yeah.
They do so at a decreased rate for sleep,
Yeah. But yeah, that was 2 bites. It's done.
Yep.
And Matt didn't do the concentration checks in order. But it's only a little small. If everyone were involved, it wouldn't have lasted a round.
Yeah.
The only reason it lasted more than one is because no one else could attack it. So, and it gave us a hilarious moment. So,
yeah.
But they get back to the ships, and the fire's still going. That was my favorite reveal coming out of the tunnels, because fires in harbors are real things, and they are not good.
Yeah.
Ammonium nitrate notwithstanding.
Yeah.
So, and the Library of Alexandria, when it burned, was because of ships catching fire in the harbor.
Yep.
So Matt having the fire spreading was great. Jester didn't have to use her paints, though.
No. But it was a creative use.
Well, the reason I say she didn't have to is because she cast Control Water.
Yeah.
It's concentration. I think it's up to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So she puts the fire out, then she goes and opens the waterfall. Although Matt was kind of wishy-washy in how much time it took to put the fires out.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then I loved Caduceus was correct. His idea would have gotten them out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Because the ships got in there. The ships didn't get thrown into the sky. And it wasn't high-level adventurers that put it in there.
Yeah.
So I think that the waterfall is large and smaller creatures. I have a feeling. To keep large and smaller creatures out. So yeah, riding a boat out would have gotten them through as well.
Yeah.
But Bo's not going to give him the opportunity to try. She's like, well, you guys can try that. I'm gonna go outside and watch. Well, I don't see how that's helpful. It's not.
Yeah.
you Beauregard.
She's been hanging out with Ford a little too long. Ford likes to do that. You're not doing what I want. I'm out.
Yeah. And then I love Liam's. Why did Keyleth turn into a monk? I didn't know that was an option. Although technically she did. But yeah, I love that Travis is like, well, yeah, no, we can't do that. It might send the ship into the sky. And I'm like, this isn't a ship in a bottle. Or it kind of is, but
yeah,
the ships get into the bottle, man. You can get them out.
Yeah.
Which, of course, led to the highlight of the episode, I think, for certainly the artists.
Yeah.
This was a reoccurring scene in all the fan art.
Yeah.
Which was Yasha sprouting her wings and catching Beauregard.
Yes. I was so excited when that happened. I was like, yes, she did change. We talked about that just last week, whether it had happened or not.
Yeah.
And then you pointed out, because we had talked about, we'll know when we see the stat cards this week.
Yes. I laughed so hard because I was looking for them. And that whole first part of the episode, I'm like,
they didn't show them.
Normally they've cycled through it once or twice by now. But no, they didn't show them. And I laughed, and I was like, okay. And then as soon as she popped them out, I really laughed because I was like, okay.
Yep. So theoretically, if they're sticking with, the change, she's down to an 18 strength and up to a 10 wisdom.
Yeah.
Because she's going to switch out that +1 strength that the Scourge gets for the +1 wisdom.
I don't know if they changed Veth. They changed her attributes when she became a halfling. I think there is less of an argument to be made to change the stats with an ASMR that's changing. I mean, I can see it go both ways.
Yeah.
Where especially if the player would like the change, and I think Ashley probably would like to have one fewer minus.
I don't know. I almost think she'd be okay with it. It's kind of become a roleplay thing of her character.
Yeah. And it also would put her an ASI behind getting to 20, which puts her further behind her companions. Because 5 of them have 20s already.
Yeah. Well, I mean, either way, her next ASI, she could have gotten it. 19, 18. She puts a 2 in there, she's at the 20.
Yeah.
19, she put a 1 in there, she had to have one other to spread around. But Ashley her track record is she always takes feeds. She's like me. She almost never takes the ASI.
Yeah.
She almost.
And we got confirmation she did take mobile.
Yeah. So, she pretty much every ASI takes a feed. I would much rather have the distinctive flavor of something than just a +1 or a couple of stats on bumps.
Yeah.
And she has done that. She did that through campaign 1. She did that through she's done that so far through campaign 2. So I don't think, so in that sense you may be right, because now she's going to have to get 2 feeds that bump her strength.
Yeah.
To bump it up to a 20.
And Tavern Brawler's one I kind of would like to see her get.
I would too.
Especially if Yabo is going to be a thing. And her and Bo are going to be sparring a lot.
And I really think we see the door opening to that.
Oh, yeah.
Not just in
the interaction she had with the chains and flying in the dream was basically, you have permission now.
Yeah. And I really think
but
true, the Dwarven belt that Grog had would that raises con.
Yeah.
But there are belts of strength. That very well could be.
Well, most of the strength ones set your strength at a number.
Right. Yeah, the giant strength ones.
Yeah. So one of the things I was hoping in that moment, well, the moment after the Superman flight, which, I was, can you read my mind? That's what was I was playing in the back of my mind in that scene. But I kind of wish Bo had said, I'm going to try to break both of our falls. Try to take the damage away from Yasha too. But doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Yasha was more concerned that Bo didn't get hurt for her flying, which worked out. So she was relieved. And I loved I'm looking at Bo, trying to see if she just had sex. It's hard to tell. And it's hard to tell because she's probably flushed.
Yeah.
Like she's orgasmed.
Yeah.
Or her knees are a little weak. But yeah. And I love the maiden flight comment, because a lot of layers.
Yeah.
And calling it that. But Matt offers them a short rest while they are waiting for them to get back. And nobody takes him up on it.
Yep.
Because he's like, it's going to take about 40 minutes to get down. Do you want to take a short rest? Does anyone? I was like, wow. Because they're usually pretty hungry.
Yeah.
For the short rests.
Especially like the Warlock.
Yeah. But Vilya casts the spell, gets him back to Bo. And it's sort of a chaotic scene. And I don't know why, but I kept waiting for them to step in and do something. But they basically took a passive and pushed Vilya out there.
Yeah.
And not went with her, invisible, to protect her. But like, it was basically 10 minutes of Matt talking to himself.
Yeah.
Which is jokingly why I have Vilya in my notes as the MVP.
Yeah.
Because when we started MVP, one of the rules was it can't be Matt. So it can't really be Vilya.
Right.
But yeah, so they don't really take an active role in anything that's happening in Bo.
Mm-hmm.
They do get some resolution. I was right. The pocket watch came back.
Yep.
Although, and I'm curious as to why Sam didn't say anything. Because there was a question there was a discussion between Laura and Marisha as to where that pocket watch went. And in character, the truth is, they think it's in the box in the rafters.
Yeah.
Not stolen, or Veth stole it.
Yep.
And Sam, if you watch him in that segment, he's restraining a giggle. And when they decide, oh, we'll just say you have it. It's not on their notes. It's not in their inventory.
Yeah.
But sure, you have it. And then you watch Sam with D&D Beyond deleting it. I would like to know why Sam didn't say anything. At least to say, you guys do not have it.
Yeah. I think that there should have been, since he was okay with them saying that, like, I would have been like, Sam, make a sleight of hand check to have planted it on her.
Yeah, in retrospect, that's...
Retroactively.
Yeah.
Since they went that way. We'll go ahead and just, make a sleight of hand check and plant it on her.
Yeah. Which I think...
Which, with reliable talent and at this level,
yeah,
he's going to succeed.
Yeah.
Which may be why he didn't call for the role.
Well, I don't think Matt remembered where it was. And Sam didn't say anything. And so, since he didn't object to either of them having it...
Yeah, he just deleted it.
I think he decided in that moment that Veth would plant it.
Yeah.
And I think she would have still been invisible at that point. Arguably.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not a big deal to me in the big grand scheme of things that it went down that way. I just wish I knew why Sam didn't say that. Because it's sort of, that's the moment that the thief character gets to tee-hee.
Yeah.
And the fact that they've been having all of these problems with Vokodo taking their stuff could have played into that too.
Yeah.
But alas, we did not get that. But we get our first arrivals.
Yes, the
for
early
travel
arrivals.
Looking for registration.
There was the dwarf, and I was trying to listen for it, and it says it so quick for where the dwarf is from when he's talking about it. He's like, I was reopening my shop, and I thought he said outside of Felderwin the first time, but it didn't sound like it when I was watching it right before we came on.
No, but I think it's a town that they have been by or through that's near where the campaign started.
Okay.
Or it was mentioned when they were talking about the excavation. But it's somewhere in the Empire. Yeah, it's definitely in the Empire.
On my first watch, because I thought he said Felderwin, I was like, do Veth or he recognize each other? What's going on? He makes fine furniture. Did he make the chair?
Oh, the chair joke will happen next episode, more than likely.
Yes.
And maybe that'll be Matt's way of trolling them. There's a familiar chair.
Oh, I just made that last night. I was bored. So there's the dwarf, and then she was, what race was the lady?
Human.
Human with a Goliath bodyguard.
Yeah.
She was a bit of a bitch.
Yeah, well, and most importantly for me was proof positive not all of these people are going to be clerics.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, many of them
We've known that since, well, I've assumed that since we met the Knoll. I'm pretty sure he wasn't a cleric.
No, he was.
He was?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The Knoll was, well...
I thought he was a warlock.
No, I think he's definitely a cleric.
Okay.
But...
Yeah, we're going to see a variety of clerics, warlocks, arcane tricksters.
Or none. Because they could just be commoners, basically.
Yeah. I think we'll see a few of each of those at least.
But yeah. I want to see, and I hope Matt has it, another 12th level, or 10th level even, cleric. I just... Jester needs somebody that's on par with her.
Yeah.
So, and no, they won't all be from Wilde now.
No.
I think we're going to see some people from Tal'Dorei. I think we might see some from Marquette. Which begs the question, did the Traveler come to this dwarf because of his connection to Scanlan, the meat man, the gangster of furniture?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely see the Tal'Dorei people because that's where the door was initially set up. You know,
yeah.
I'm assuming that's the first place he came to on the prime material plane.
Yeah. Yeah. I have some thoughts. We'll get into when we're speculating for Traveler Con. But we had a funny moment where the discussion of the end of the campaign was discussed. That next episode might be the end. Because they are going to retire and set up a resort here on Rumblecusp.
Yeah. I think it's going to be more the Slayer's Cake type of thing.
I don't think it's going to even be that. Realistically, I think it's going to be, you know, we gave you this idea. You can do it or not.
Yeah.
And they're going to go off and do what they're going to do. But I think maybe Matt got a little concerned at that moment. Because when you think about it, only Caleb and Veth, but Caleb mostly, only he has a reason to go back to the Empire.
Yeah.
Like the others, their stories are to a point where arguably they could very happily just retire to this island and not go anywhere or do anything.
No. Ford still has a little bit.
Does he?
Find Vandrin or Sabin. Get closure there.
I think he got that closure when Jester did the sending to Vandrin. He confirmed Vandrin's alive. He's doing well, and he's doing good.
Okay.
I think for Ford, that's all he wanted to know. Now he knows.
Okay.
And he hasn't been particularly vengeful in his quest. Like, he hasn't been driven for that vengeance. I think he may have been driven more towards justice. And if Vandren didn't, if he's lawful good, it was for justice. And,
so it wasn't for justice. But go ahead.
But I think that's largely done.
I can see that, especially since, since the first time they came to Nicodranas, he hasn't really been, because before that, he was like talking about it and I gotta find this, and he hasn't been, I didn't really connect that dot. I connected it more the panic over Uk'otoa. He had to put that on the back burner because he's like, oh shit, this guy's almost released. I don't really want this. And finding his new faith, that kind of fell to the back burner, so to speak.
That's fair. That's possible. Because he did mention him.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's possible. It's just, for me, none of them have a particular driving need.
Well, and then
to go anywhere except Caleb.
When he found Katha, he was like, is there anyone here I recognize? So I was like, oh, is he looking for Vandren?
Yeah.
Is this where I'm going to find out if I was right in thinking, hey, maybe Vandren ended up here?
Yeah. Same. I was hoping that would happen.
Who do you think her bounty is?
I think it's someone from the Darrington Brigade.
Okay.
The reason why is because the Darrington Brigade one-shot was 10 years ago. It was halfway between the end of Talks Machnia and the beginning of this one. And the Darrington Brigade was on its last legs and desperate. So I think someone connected to the Darrington Brigade could have been on the run, and they took a weapon for the greater good from Katha's employer. Because Katha doesn't strike me as someone who is a bounty hunter for good.
Right.
And not all bounties that get put out are put out by good people or the state.
Caleb could go back to the mainland and find out the war is in full effect again and tell them fighting 9. Yeah, I mean, that. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to retire. They're going to go north.
Yeah.
There's too many seeds planted for that. There's too much of a push.
If Caleb wants revenge, they have to go north.
Yeah.
And if the others want to help him get revenge, they have to go with him to go north. If they want to get close to the Cerberus Assembly to assassinate the people they don't like, they have to go north. So, and that's why I say Caleb's the one that's going to be driving the ship, as it were. I guess pun intended. Yeah. I also, we mentioned the Widow Jest moment in the cave. For me, the Forest or Death Knell was this episode.
Yep.
I mean, I joked last time, and Quinn, forget it a second, on YouTube, mentioned that it's not necessarily over. I would submit to you the fact that she had a deep, meaningful conversation and forgot who it was with. And it wasn't an episode, 2, 3, 5 episodes ago. It was 8 minutes ago.
It wasn't even opposite ends of the break.
Yeah.
It was, let's have this scene. Okay, go to the next scene. Wait, who was I just talking to? And it was pretty heavy topics.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, oh, hey, did you get lunch yet? It was stuff about the afterlife. And
yeah. Is it wrong that if the traveler can't give an afterlife to somebody, is it wrong that someone should be worshiping him?
So is she thinking about switching faiths?
No. And that was one of the contentions of Quinn as well. I think if she stops going cleric, she's going to go warlock. And it will be fate pact with the traveler.
Well, I could see her, especially with the traveler not wanting to be a god, switching to warlock, but keeping the cleric levels in another faith.
Oh.
So that, hey, you're not doing this divine thing anymore. We're still buddies. You know.
Well,
she's practicing with the tarot deck, Moonweaver.
Well, the thing is, well, I guess the Moonweaver is probably trickery.
Yeah,
I mean,
she's got a trickery domain, and that's the only one I could see her changing to.
I don't think it's going to happen for several reasons. One, in the rules, you don't technically have to follow a god.
Yeah.
To be a cleric.
That's true.
Your powers are a manifestation of your faith.
Yep. Oh, and I agree with you. I don't think it's going to happen either, but I think there's enough wood in that fire that we have to bring it up. Since we are a show called Wild Speculations.
That's fair.
We have to address the wild speculations that are out there.
But yeah. But I also think that's a modern misconception about deities in the afterlife.
Mm.
Because if you were a cleric of Zeus, you didn't go to a different place than a cleric of Poseidon.
True.
You both went to Hades. And if you were good, you got Elysium. If you were not, you got Asphodel.
Yeah.
And if you were really bad, you got Eden.
Yeah. I mean, you go back to any pantheon, before monotheism took over, each god didn't have their own afterlife.
Yeah. Now, the Norse are sort of the exception to that, because the Norse have something akin to that, where Odin has his Hall of the Dead, Valhalla, and Freya has her hall.
Yeah.
For the
they're the closest to having each their own.
Yeah.
But even they each don't have their own.
Right. So. Yeah. But it does raise an interesting question, because that is a topic that has never been covered on the show.
Is she losing her faith in the traveler or her respect for him? Definitely the latter. She's come to odds with him, with how little he cares. She's even said he's not as great as I thought he was.
The first time you see your parents as humans, do you lose respect for them? You just change your definition of them.
Yes.
The respect isn't gone.
Okay.
Your faith in them is not gone. Just your perception of them has changed.
That's true.
And that's what I think Jester is going through right now.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I was going to relate it to the Forester.
Mm.
How enamored she was and how that waned, and now we've actually seen it, because she still likes him. She's still his friend. She still respects him. But, that door is closed.
Yeah.
I do think it's, I guess respect is the wrong word, but I think it's more on that end than, he's not as great as I thought he was, rather than faith. I don't know. Because she's still, she's still defending him to Ford when he's like, hey, we could kill him.
Yeah.
She's still, the high priestess.
Yeah. And I think, so her frustration in that moment, talking to them, I think she found an empathy with the traveler that's only going to deepen their relationship.
Yeah.
Because this bitch, I hate her. How could he put up with her? That's how Jester is seeing all these people.
Yeah.
This dwarf is cool. And, but I think she's going to have an understanding of where the traveler is coming from. That she's not going to lose faith in him. She put forward the Divine Gate plan, originally put forward by Caleb.
Yep.
And I had an idea.
Okay.
And I hope it doesn't happen, but I also hope it does.
Okay.
So they designed this ceremony that's going to take place on the Zenith. They are performing the ceremony. Caleb is weaving his spells, doing this thing, the programmed illusion, the web, the gate comes up, surrounds the traveler. And the traveler is, and Caduceus casts banishment.
Nice.
And he could argue for disadvantage since this whole thing, he's going to go away. So he casts banishment and sends the traveler back to the Feywild.
Yeah.
I don't think Caduceus would do it. And arguably Jester could do it, but I don't think Jester would do it either.
Jester definitely wouldn't.
Caleb could do it, but I don't think Caleb would, because he's trying to help Jester and the Traveler pull this whole thing off. And sending him to the Feywild doesn't do anything to piss him off.
True. Of course, going back to the Feywild is not too bad because he's got the doorway.
Yeah.
Even if he's back permanently, he has an out.
Yeah. I also am kind of hoping that they build a stage with a proscenium and seating just to fuck with art again. You've built a theater.
That would be great. I would love to see that happen. Real quick before we get into quick speculation, one last thing I definitely wanted to make sure we pointed out. They're at the party. Bo catches Vilya's attention, offers her alcohol, goes into the whole self, I'm, a mess, don't. It's exactly how she flirted with the lady in the gentleman's establishment. It's how she flirted with Kay. It's, it is her trademark flirtation style. Was Marisha trying to hook up with her mom? Because I think part of her was.
I think
I
think Bo was horny after her interactions with Yasha. And her previous dalliances, where this has occurred, also have coincided with her near encounters with Yasha that don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Add on to that the bottomless whiskey she now has.
Yes.
And I think that's where that was coming from. Or she's trying to get them to level up.
I honestly think she's drinking. She's drinking heavily again. She's gonna flirt. But yeah, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
It threw me for a loop when it happened.
Also, Belabor is the perfect name for that staff for Bo.
Yeah.
Because it is to argue a point ad nauseum is one definition, and to assault or beat is the other.
Yeah.
So both fit Beauregard.
Yes.
And one thing I wanted to mention, and it's partially because I keep getting Hamilton songs stuck in my head since I watched it. But Sam didn't help with starting the show off with a parody.
Yes.
So when we got to the end and Vilya is doing the speech and asking for them to be a community again, I just went to Christopher Jackson one last time.
Nice.
Vilya teaches them how to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And that was playing in the back of my head in that scene. But yeah, I think we get a sending from Jester to Keyleth.
Yeah.
Whether Vilya asks for it or they realize, holy shit, we could talk to Keyleth. Or at least Jester could.
We can find out who's on the council.
And it would be an interesting moment, and I don't know if Matt has thought about it or talked to Marisha about the possibility of seeing Keyleth. Is she going to play Keyleth, or is he?
Yeah. Well, I know that they said with the crossover one shot, he'll be playing the Vox Machina. But yeah, I think if it's just Ascending, Marisha plays. Because I think Matt says, how does Keyleth respond? If they go visit her, she's an NPC now. That falls under Matt's jurisdiction.
Yeah, I don't know. Because part of me thinks Marisha should play her, no matter what. Just with Matt having veto power.
Okay.
Like, oh, here's this, and here's this, and just like giving them all this stuff.
Well,
that was,
yeah.
Like,
the only thing that should be given is the staff.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that. It was foreshadowed before they even knew there was going to be clerics.
Yes. So, no CR next Thursday. What I want to do, thank you for reminding me, is I want to run a game Thursday night. In basically the time slot for Critical Role. So for you on YouTube tonight, I'm going to post a Discord link in the comments, and I'll be in that about 6 p.m. Pacific time. We'll create characters real quick, and hopefully start playing by Critical Role start time normally.
I unfortunately will not be able to make that. I will be working that evening. I normally do work on Thursday evenings. I usually get home about the time of the break.
Yeah. And as for next Tuesday,
I think we should do maybe another running the game,
Yeah, I've been working on some stuff since I'm preparing to run another campaign. So we'll probably either talk about that or do a subclass build or something.
Yeah.
So with that, I guess we will see you guys next week.
I guess.